I feel like after the success of Modern Warfare, weapon authenticity is just going to be an unavoidable topic surrounding Call of Duty from here on out. And honestly, I totally get why. It's an amazing thing when developers can put hours and hours into working on a gun to make it authentic, to make it sound good, to make it just the perfect amount of detailed and intuitive. That's great. That's a really great feeling. And to put that into a Twitch shooter like Call of Duty, it's such an amazing bonus. I get why people want it more and more, especially when we get tastes of it in certain Call of Duty games. So yeah, when it comes to Call of Duty Vanguard, I totally get people wanting the weapons to be authentic. And in some ways, people expect it to be more authentic. See, with modern weapons, you have some wiggle room. You can get away with a couple more weird things because there are so many variants of modern firearms. But when it comes to World War II, we pretty much know what was issued to people at the time. We know what versions of the Thompson were actually used in the field, not just that a Thompson was used in the field. Like, yeah, a magazine for an M1 Garand is possible, but people weren't really doing that during the war. So there's a juxtaposition if you know the context of the war and how weapons were used. That can be distracting or annoying if you're a gun buff or a history buff. And I totally understand being told to just sit down and deal with bad weapon design in terms of authenticity, because it's a Twitch shooter and that's just what you have to put up with. It's Call of Duty, it's not a realistic game. That's not a satisfying answer, because you know that millions and millions of dollars are being poured into these games. So why can't they do the proper research and model guns properly? Nobody's asking for the ability to field strip their gun in the middle of a battle in Call of Duty Vanguard. They don't want to be able to take it apart and clean it meticulously. They just want the components on the weapon, the bolt, the slide, the iron sights, the magazine, to just be the proper model and to behave the proper way, and to sound good while doing it. That doesn't seem like a tall order. It kind of is, because game development's very complicated. Hell, just making sure light hits an object and then the object casts the proper shadow can take apparently months to perfect. But yeah, I understand that people just want the models and sounds to be right. They don't want recoil that looks half-assed, but then also on a gameplay standpoint, they don't want recoil that's so realistic that it's unfun to shoot, and so then you have that really hard balance. How do you make a game that's fun, but also authentic? Well, some people just love authenticity so much that the more authentic, the better. Some people would trade fair competition and convenience for authenticity any day. And those people, well, they're probably on a list somewhere. They scare the average gamer because they genuinely want so much authenticity, they don't care if it makes the game less fun, as long as the game is more believable. Then you have the other people that don't care if all the models are wrong and all the weapons perform in an inaccurate way, and they make the wrong sounds, and they fire the wrong types of ammunition, and all their attachments are completely unrealistic, as long as the game is fun. Or more specifically, let's say balanced or competitive. They don't really want authenticity more than they just want a good game. And so the developers have to hit a good balance, and that's incredibly hard to do. In my opinion, there's no excuse for just getting a gun wrong. Like, if you just have a weapon wrong with how its bolt works, how its magazine works, how its slide works, how its fire select works, whether or not it has a fire select, there's no reason to get that wrong. You should be able to do your research and get the model down. But once you start getting into recoil and attachments, then I start getting a little bit more lenient. Yeah, certain guns might kick a lot in real life, but if they kick too much, then a controller user that's just trying to play Call of Duty would end up not using the gun. By the way, bullets don't always go where the iron sight is either, so to demand 100% authenticity from Call of Duty, where the main focus of Call of Duty is that your bullet is going to go where your iron sight or dot or scope is aimed every time, even if there's bullet travel time or some drop, that bullet goes completely straight, there's no deviation, so you're kind of dealing with some cognitive dissonance there if you demand authenticity from a game that's inherently avoiding realistic ballistic authenticity for the feel of the game to be preserved, so keep that in mind. But yeah, you can't have recoil too high, and you can't just limit attachments down to only things that were standard issue in a game like Call of Duty Vanguard, because that would be kind of boring. I don't mind playing with different ammo types and barrels and iron sights and grips and stocks, magazines. If I can have 2 drum mags for my Thompson taped together, I might do it because it's silly and kind of fun. I genuinely do not mind that to a degree. You might think, well, that's just ridiculous. And if you think that way, again, bullets don't go directly in the center of the iron sight. So if you can embrace that fact, which is just, again, you know, you have to adjust for windage in real life, but you don't want me to have attachments that don't exist in real life. That's a little hard to swallow. Call of Duty is intuitive Twitch fun, and I'm not saying that's a reason that they should just have shitty, horrible, inaccurate weapon design. I'm just saying that maybe don't make that your main goal from Call of Duty. I've seen people go after sci-fi weapons, historical weapons, modern day weapons. If it's in a video game, people have gone after it and pointed out all of the inaccuracies. There are people that literally still talk about, and I've seen videos that are recent of people talking about how the Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts doesn't make sense, and Cloud's Buster Sword in Final Fantasy doesn't make sense. Like, no shit. Some people love sort of scoffing at the insanity of fictional weapons. Like, yeah, they're fictional. When you get down into games that are based on real events like World War II, I understand wanting some authenticity, but you have to be realistic. A Call of Duty game without customization and theory crafting and putting together meticulously designed weapons that are personal to your playstyle is a boring sham of a fucking game as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Modern Warfare's Gunsmith has kept me occupied for almost 2 years. It's so fun to play with MW's Gunsmith because I can theory craft a really weird and unique horrible gun, or something that's really competitive and fits the meta. And sometimes you can find a mix where you find an attachment combination that works in the higher end meta against better players, but is still not the norm. That has to be alive and well throughout the rest of Call of Duty because that keeps people coming back and coming up with new ideas. I've been downstairs in my house, minding my own business, kind of bored of Modern Warfare, and then I thought of an interesting combination I could do on an AK or an M4, an MP5 or the MP7, and I literally would just go upstairs and just play the game because I really wanted to try out a weird combination, and that was fun. So to end this video, I understand all three sides here. I get being irritated when a developer can't get a simple gun right, a gun that's existed for 100 years, and the developer can't get it right just visually, just how the slide moves, how you reload it, just they can't get that right. That's annoying, it seems lazy. But I also understand people that don't enjoy games that don't allow them to theory craft and play with interesting combinations and customizations, because mixing and matching and finding cool combos is, well, a really good way to secure replayability in your FPS game. And thirdly, the developer that has to make the weapon work on mouse and controller, has to make the weapon authentic to the real life counterpart, but also intuitive and fun to use within the game and the game's meta. The weapon has to fit within the franchise, fit within the title that's fitting within the franchise, it has to fit within the meta within that title that's within the franchise, and that's difficult to do while also maintaining authenticity. So I think models and animations should be accurate to a pretty good degree, just not at the expense of making the game unfun or certain weapons just unfun to use in the game. I don't want such little customization and such little freedom from the developers that the game seems to have zero creativity or room to breathe. But if you're going to strive to make the game as unauthentic as possible, I wonder why you'd make a game about World War II in the first place. You'll end up having weapons that look so cursed and ridiculous that even people that know nothing about guns are gonna look at your game and say something along the lines of, okay, you know what? I don't think the Germans ever used this.